our CIA like it's never happened before. So, and then the next magic thing is the opposition party drops out of the race. So Karzai is back in office. Well, didn't cost all that much to promote that election. We spent $300 million on that election. And then there was one person, a UN ambassador by the name of Peter Galbraith. He goes over there and checks the ground. He says, you know, there are 1,300 fake polling places. They don't even exist, but they're gathering up votes. So you know what they did to him? They fired him. I mean, we as a people have to wake up to this because we can't continue for financial reasons, but they're going to scare the living daylights out of the American people that you have to keep doing this over and over again. We just voted in the House to put on tougher sanctions on the Iranians, you know, so they can't import gasoline. They don't make enough gasoline for themselves. They have a lot of oil, but they can't make gasoline. But if they can't even make gasoline for themselves, do you think they might not be that much of a powerhouse? You know, maybe they're not as powerful as we think. They're not going to think. There was this proposal by the previous administration to have these anti-ballistic missile sites up in the Czech Republic along the Russian border, up against the Russian. Oh yeah, we're putting these here in case the Iranians get an intercontinental ballistic missile. Well, nobody really believes that, but not a whole lot has changed. It's just that the current administration has changed the nature of the missiles, but they still want to put them over there. Matter of fact, I think that's what's going on in Bulgaria and Romania. And it happens to be the Caspian Sea is right nearby. And so the involvement there, we as a people really ought to question this and decide, what are we doing? And if for no other reason, you know, even if you disagree with me, you say, oh no, you always have to have a safety net. Oh no, you can't let the people decide what they want to do with their personal life. They might want to drink raw milk or something like that, and that would be so bad. So we can't do that, and we can't allow these countries to not have our benevolence. But the one reason why we have to think about it is we're flat out broke. In the midst of the dollar crisis, this thing comes crashing down, and we better know what we want to replace it with. And people say, oh, this is proof capitalism failed. I'll tell you what, that's one argument that you better learn how to refute, because the free market hasn't failed. I don't particularly like the word capitalism, but I like to use the word free market. Free markets haven't failed. The medicine is a mess today, but it's not the free market. We've had government intervention which has undermined the free market for years. When I started medicine, there were but there were a lot of church hospitals. And the first job I had, I was moonlighting. I wanted to make some extra money. So I would work 12 hours for $35. 3 hours an hour. But it was, you know, partially training, and it was a church hospital, and nobody gets turned away. So it isn't like there's no medical care, but those hospitals are all gone because costs get pushed up with the inflationary pressures of regulations and all the threat of lawsuits and the unnecessary treatments that go on with the system that we have. So it is a system that needs revised, but we cannot blame the free market. We have to blame interventionism. Interventionism is what I've been talking about. Inflation, corporatism, corporations get benefits, and there's always these regulations, and it's not the free market. But if we once again blame the free market, that's what we did in the 30s. We really gave up on free markets when the Depression hit. They gave up on sound money. They took in the gold. They said you should have unlimited ability to print money, and that was the whole purpose of the Federal Reserve. They were moving along that way. And they did that, and after that, the educational system restates this constantly. It's Keynesian interventionist economic policy. This is a struggle between Keynes and Mises, believe it or not. Nixon, the brightest thing he ever said is, we're all Keynesians now. And I auditorium, there are a few here who aren't Keynesian and heard about Austrian free market economics. Let me mention briefly a little effort that I've been involved with dealing with the Federal Reserve, since it has been a key issue. It is true, I went into politics in the 70s because of the financial crisis of the 70s, and I am rather surprised that they were able to patch it together and have it last so long. But what has come apart, this financial crisis, they can't patch it together. The dollar reserve standard can't be replaced, but the dollar is still functioning, it's still holding in there. But since that time, I have become much more interested in foreign policy as well. But the Federal Reserve is key to whether you're interested in domestic policy or foreign policy or just your own well-being, because money is a pretty important issue, and when it's dishonest, when it can be duplicated at unlimited amounts secretly for the benefit of special groups, that is very, very dangerous. Now, if the government could double the money supply like they did last year, they doubled the money supply, but your wealth didn't double, but Goldman Sachs probably quadrupled. You know, they came out golden. And it's unfair because who gets the money first, who benefits, whether it's in the banks or the corporations or the military-industrial complex. They have these advantages. But I don't like the Federal Reserve because of the economic consequences, because I believe it's immoral, because it's equivalent to counterfeiting. I believe that it also promotes in serious ways unlimited government spending, allowing governments to grow much bigger than they would otherwise, and we end up with warfare and welfare and not enough freedom in this country. So therefore, the ultimate solution to our problems will have to deal with monetary policy reform. All we're asking for is not to go back to the gold standard, not to tell them what to do with the money, nothing like that. It's really very modest. It just says open up the books. Tell us what you've been doing for all these years. You and your friends. Since 1913, arguing this case. Sometimes even banking committee chairmen would argue this case and never gets anywhere. But right now we're getting much further along than ever before because of the financial crisis and the American people waking up and realizing there's something seriously wrong, not only with Congress spending $700 billion of TARP funds, but also what is the Fed doing when they deal in trillions of dollars. But a recent poll was done, which really impressed me, and it said 75% of American people think we ought to audit the Federal Reserve. I haven't figured out the exact percentage, but that's about what we have in Congress. About 75% of the congressmen have now signed on to the bill. So this is progress. There are 130 Democrats on the bill, and all the Republicans have signed on. You'd think with that many votes, you could bring that under suspension. You have 2/3 of the vote, and you could easily pass it. But those who control the legislation in Congress said it will not come to the floor that way, but it will be stuck on some, they don't use the word monstrous, some monstrous banking regulation bill, which is not going to be helpful. But that, if we get a chance, we'll get it put on there. But right now, we're in the middle of that bill, and after we get back, after next week, after this week, next